Welcome to the Redemption Podcast with your hosts, Staci
and Juliah.
Welcome to Season 2, Episode 4 of Redemption. Hello, everybody. I want to tell you who we have in the studio today. Today we have Lynda, Chud, who is our Women's Empowerment Coach, and Beattie, Wallman, who is the My House Executive Administrative Assistant. Hey, guys.
Hey.
Hey, Julia.
And I'm here too.
Well, of course you are. You're the co-host.
Good morning, Staci and Lynda and Beattie. I just said good morning, but it's really like 3 o'clock or something.
Yeah, but it feels like morning.
Yes. Sure.
Well, before we get started, I'm going to kick it over to Isaac to see if we have any housekeeping today.
We do, but I have to steal Julia's mic to do it because there's 4 of us in the studio and we only have 4 mics in here.
Okay.
So I have stolen Julia's mic temporarily, and then I'll back out of the way of the table. We are still, we're doing extra releases this week. This should be dropping on a Thursday, but in the last 2 weeks, there's been 4 episodes of various shows that have dropped. And tomorrow, part 2 of My Voice is going to come out as well. Part 1 was just last Friday. So if you listen to part 1, check out part 2 tomorrow. Next week, we're going to be back to a quote unquote normal release schedule as we prepare for the holiday season. Diagnonsense has an episode coming out. This show will also have a part 2 dropping next weekend as well. So lots of stuff that's going on the podcast network side of things, and then super excited to start the new year. So stay tuned into January for all the reset of all of our fundraisers and events and all of that good stuff. It'll be super exciting. Okay, I'm going to go back to my corner of the room now.
Yay!
Thank you, Isaac.
Good job, Isaac.
Thanks. So, guys, the holidays are just right around the corner. How are we feeling?
Oh, man. That just opens up a whole can of worms.
It sure
There's a lot of prep and a lot of family,
yes,
which and relational type stuff that can really trigger a lot of people at this time of year.
Yeah, absolutely.
It can be a joy and it can be a scary time.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to talk about today: relationships, self-care, boundaries. And yeah, that's going to be a great conversation. I'm so excited to have Julia here with her grandmother, which is Beattie.
Hey, girl, hey.
I know. It's so special
Love you.
to have them together.
They're so cute.
We have a great relationship.
cute.
I
Yes.
love my Beattie.
Yes. And it kind of reminds
So.
me of what we talk about, the wild and wise, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a very wild, wise conversation talking about relationships and boundaries, and we all have lots of stories and life experience to bring to the table. So
Yes,
let's
we
get
do.
it.
Well, I thought we'd start off today. I'm going to read a little portion of one of my favorite books called The Language of Letting Go by Melody Beattie. And, so many of our relationships are founded on what we think about ourselves, our self-love, and that's what this is called today. It says, I woke up this morning and I had a hard time for a while, said one recovering man. Then I realized it was because I wasn't liking myself very much. Recovering people often say, I just don't like myself. When will I start liking myself? The answer is, start now. We can learn to be gentle, loving, and nurturing with ourselves. Of all the recovery behaviors we're striving to attain, loving ourselves may be the most difficult and the most important. If we are habitually harsh and critical towards ourselves, learning to be gentle with ourselves may require dedicated effort. But what a valuable venture. By not liking ourselves, we may be perpetuating the discounting, neglect, or abuse we received in childhood from the most important people in our life. We didn't like what happened then, but find ourselves copying those who mistreated us by treating ourselves poorly. We can stop the pattern. We can begin giving ourselves the loving, respectful treatment that we deserve. Instead of criticizing ourselves, we can tell ourselves we performed well enough. We can wake up in the morning and tell ourselves we deserve a good day. We can make a commitment to take care of ourselves throughout the day. We can recognize that we're deserving of love. We can do loving things for ourselves, and we can love other people and let them love us. People who truly love themselves do not become destructively self-centered. They do not abuse others. They do not stop growing and changing. People who love themselves well learn to love others well too. They continually grow to healthier people, learning that their love was appropriately placed. Let's stop there. Yeah, this is kind of the foundation we're gonna build this whole conversation on, is this whole thing of respecting and loving ourselves. It's pretty important in any relationship we're in to know who we are and the power that we have really within us to be responsible for how we run our side of the relationship. Yeah,
Our side of the road.
staying in your own lane.
I think the word that really, like the specific word that I resonated with the most out of what you read was the word fear. Which
Tell
is
me
kind
more.
of interesting when it comes to, self-respect, knowing what your needs are. I've kind of been doing a lot of reflection lately
That's a good thing.
on all of my past relationships. And I noticed my own pattern of being afraid of not being enough
Yeah. You're not
all
alone.
the time.
I think it's really common.
Yeah.
Very.
And I would just reach to people please. I would do things that really were not what I knew deep inside was what I needed. And I would always have like this anxiety about it.
So what sort of self-talk were you giving yourself? What were you saying to yourself?
Oh, like just super, spiral of negative, like, oh, you need to go do this. Oh man, you sucked at that. Oh, how do I become, what
Yeah.
how do I become acceptable to these people when I'm just this?
I get it.
I'm unqualified. I'm not. So many things.
That's called stinking thinking that comes out your mouth.
So yes,
Been there, done that, Julia. You're not alone.
yeah, and those are sort of like red flag things as
Yeah.
well to pay attention to. I think when we're not listening to ourselves and really like listening to what we need and then figuring out how to communicate that.
Yeah.
And paying attention to how we feel. Like if we're with someone and they do something or say something and we get that feeling in our gut that wasn't cool, or and then we just that's not important. But those things add up. Those are, I know in past relationships I've had that there was all kinds of red flags, but I just didn't pay attention, and it just went downhill from there.
To what they were saying or to what you were saying?
It's what I was paying. Say
Like a red flag. Was that a red flag about them?
it was
or-
about how I felt about what something they did, or how
okay.
they treated me.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, that wasn't that. I didn't like that, but but that's okay. I'm just probably being a little too picky or something. But then you start to it eats away at you.
Yeah, that's that taking things personally.
Yes.
Too personally.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, that's a big one.
And then there's red flags that you recognize about yourself.
Yeah.
When you really start to become self-aware, right?
Tell us some more.
Oh. Well, I'm just becoming more self-aware of the fact that I have these thoughts, like so I'm 24, I'm dating, I'm going out on dates, and I just when you start going out with a new person, you start to have like that, like maybe you were single for a while and you're just doing your own thing and you're like having a great time just doing your own thing, and then you start dating somebody and then all of these things just start popping up again, like, oh, I should, do this, or, oh, I'm I'm afraid of saying something stupid.
Yeah.
As a great example of how
You're getting that disease to please.
Yeah. So that's a red flag about yourself,
Yeah.
right? When you see that kind of stuff, and you need to like take a step back and look at, your relationship to yourself.
Yeah.
Which is the foundation of everything. So we have, what is this? The 12 essentials of self-respect. It's like we have a lot of paper in front of us,
We
guys.
do. Yes, we do.
And so me being, I don't know, I really resonate with a lot of these 12 essential steps of self-respect.
You can just choose the ones that you really resonated with you, Julia.
Well, can I read
help?
them?
Yeah.
Can I
course.
read
Yeah,
them?
let's
And
read
then
them.
if I have anything to say, with
Awesome.
each step, then I will. Step 1 is I have a realistic sense of my strengths and weaknesses. That one was kind of, I would have to kind of like think about it for a little bit, about what my strengths and weaknesses are. I definitely know what my weaknesses are.
It's interesting how our strengths and weaknesses coincide. How the strengths that we have can also be a weakness. For example, myself, I have a very caring nature, and it makes me a fixer. And so it can make me controlling, or it can make me a doormat. Even though I can problem solve.
Yeah, I resonate with that.
Yeah, I know you have that personality. Patty has it too.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so we're also a table of women here, but I would also, like, at any point, if I know Isaac doesn't have a mic in front of him, but if you ever have something, like if you wanted to pull up or I don't know.
Here, let me scoot my chair.
Yeah, come scoot.
Scooting my chair over to the table.
I'll make
Some
some room.
testosterone over it.
Yeah, it's a lot of estrogen, guys.
Well, I actually did have something here. I'll swing Julia's mic over again. I did have something that I was thinking of before we continue through these steps, because what you were talking about and what Lynda was talking about reminded me of a conversation that Justin, Kurt, and myself were having on Diagnonsens, which notably is a table without any women at it. And Kurt made a joke.
We need to join that one.
All testosterone.
we should have big round table. That would be fun. But Kurt made a joke talking about increasing negative self-talk when it comes to us feeling like we didn't have the motivation to get up and go to the gym in the morning. We were talking about how lazy we'd been because it's dark outside.
Yep.
You wake up and it's dark outside and we have no energy. And so we made a disclaimer of, maybe with a lot of us this time of year, maybe you shouldn't increase negative self-talk, but also that maybe sometimes there's a place if you're getting too complacent to have to find it within yourself to motivate yourself to get up and that was that fed into some more jokes about Kurt asking himself, is this where you want to be when the apocalypse comes? You want to be sitting here? And I said, yeah, and sitting here with a cheeseburger in my stomach because I didn't go to the gym. So I'd wonder what all of your takes were on that. With what's the difference between motivating yourself and calling yourself out on your crap, and maybe having a negative attitude or outlook on life?
I think it is just telling yourself, you deserve more than this. You're worthy of taking care of your mind and your body and your spirit. Don't be a slacker.
And understanding how important that is, how you feel, makes such a difference in how you come across and how you see other people. And, if you feel good,
your experience of life
is going to be better.
Mm-hmm.
So put the work, you put the work in on yourself physically, and it really does make a difference.
You reap what you sow.
Yeah.
It's worth getting out in the darkness and cold. And I'm not doing that very well, I'll tell on myself, but I know.
I understand completely. Like when you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh my God, I don't even want to get out of bed. I don't know how to get out of bed.
Right.
I'm
It's
literally
too
laying
cold
here.
to get out of bed.
It's this, that spiral of doom where I'm like, okay, I should go work out. I should go do this and blah, blah, blah. And then you press snooze for a long time. I did that this morning. But lately I've been, I just know that right now with the stuff that I'm going through in my life, that if I don't get up and sweat a little bit, it's going to go downhill really fast. So I'm trying to be proactive, and I'm not expecting a lot of myself. I actually started working out in my house a little bit instead of going to the gym, because the gym is a whole other story.
It's so far, far away.
But I am practicing positive self-talk and giving myself some grace, especially on the days where, you just don't feel great.
Yeah.
I think
Does
watching that
help? Did that answer any question?
Well, you know what I liked about that answer, and we kind of came to the same conclusion too, is it's not about telling yourself that you're a piece of garbage for not going up and going to the gym. It's what Lynda just said about telling yourself that you deserve better from yourself, and that you need to strive every day to become the best version of yourself. And that, so we decided in our conversation that if your negative self-talk is serving the purpose of telling yourself that you're not treating yourself right, that you deserve better, then really it's positive self-talk, because it's positive self-talk by telling yourself that you deserve better, which maybe on a surface level sounds like negative self-talk, but really you have your best interests in mind. It's giving yourself that kick in the butt that you need sometimes, and having the self-awareness to know when you deserve better, when you're not doing everything that you could be doing to be the best version of yourself. Because when you're the best version of yourself, you lift up everyone else around you.
True. Yeah. I think sometimes it's just our choice of words of saying, I should do this. I'll try, instead of I am going to, I will. It just a change of those words can make a difference.
And you're taking responsibility for yourself.
Yep.
Which is good. It's good self-constructive whatever. So
what's the next one?
Very good. Number 2, I accept myself the way I am right now with all of my imperfections.
Perfectly imperfect. My favorite word. None of us have arrived, right?
No.
Yeah. Got lots of learning opportunities from all our mistakes.
Well, and I look at the word accept as coming to terms.
Good.
Of what is reality.
And it's again, you're asking yourself those questions. Do I accept myself the way that I am right now? Or what do I want to work on? Maybe it's time to set a new goal.
Yeah.
Maybe it's some things I need to change about myself. Maybe I'll go ask my good friend.
Yeah.
How are you experiencing me these days? Because
I like that.
I know it's a scary question to
No,
ask.
it is. It is. I won't ask my kids.
No, somebody that is a good friend.
Well, number 3 is I'm entitled to be treated with respect by myself and others, just because I'm a human being. And
That's
I like
really
that. Just because
powerful.
I'm a human being.
I deserve respect.
Yeah, I don't have
By
to
myself,
prove anything.
from myself,
Yeah.
respect ourselves.
First of all, from myself.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And 4, I feel worthy of respect from myself and others. So I guess that's kind of like the same thing.
Well, we're either on a shame cycle or we're on a worthiness cycle. Sometimes we kind of jump in and out of there, but we've got to be reminding ourselves all the time that we are worthy. We are
And it's a
enough.
practice.
It so is.
At first, it's very
ongoing.
It's very, like, really? No. But when you practice it, you get better at it and you believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that like feeling worthy of respect, especially when you're in situations that are new or like you're not experienced, or you don't know, you're not the expert in the room, or somebody else is like just wiser, been around a lot longer, all of those things. Sometimes it's hard for me to feel like I'm worthy of whatever room I'm in or whatever person I'm with. Isn't that
We're all
funny?
Teachers, Julia. We're all teachers.
We're all teachers and we're all students.
That's right. I think of my grandkids, I think of my children. They're greater teacher. I just am humbled by their wisdom, at their age. So never discount. That's not a reason just because you're younger.
And I think we
lots.
all have a voice to be heard. We
Yeah.
all have experience. We all have thoughts. We all have everything we've been through, and it's different for each person. I think we all bring something different to the table. So it's very important. Your voice is very important in that group where you think, everybody's more experienced than me, but they haven't experienced what you experience.
That's true. Very true. 6, I feel and show respect for others and care about fairness and equity for all.
Yeah.
Yeah, just as, you treat people how you'd want to be treated.
Exactly.
Yep. 7, I feel worthwhile without needing approval from others. 8, I feel worthwhile even and especially in circumstances that reveal my lack of knowledge, experience, and abilities.
There you go. There we go.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I just had a situation like that where I was like, oh, I don't know what I bring to the table here, but, I'm happy to be here. So, yeah. 9, I apologize genuinely and quickly when I hurt someone.
Why is that so important? How does that fit with respect, self-respect?
Because that's a character thing. It's owning your own mistakes.
It's the virtue of humility, really. If I can apologize when I know I've done something wrong, it's humility, which is some people, classify that as a weakness. You're a wimp, especially guys, maybe, I don't know, to apologize,
Isaac's laughing.
It's that wrestling with pride, that I'm not gonna admit I made a mistake.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's very respectful of ourselves and being able to say, I'm humbling myself and going, I'm sorry I screwed up.
Well, and I think that a lot of guys do struggle with that. Speaking from personal experience,
No.
As a yeah, I never am too cocky about my own abilities or self-centered. I think when it was that was a hard lesson for me to learn as a child in my youth. And usually it was because my mouth got me in trouble as I spoke without thinking and just said something incredibly rude to an adult or to a peer. And when my parents would find out about it, they would always make me go apologize to whoever it was immediately. And as a 10-year-old, having to go up to a 25-year-old because my smart mouth got me in trouble, there was nothing more embarrassing. Or apology notes. My parents made me write apology notes.
Good for them.
There is nothing more shameful
Good
as a
parents.
10-year-old than just going over and over and I'm sorry for behaving like a brat note and writing it to some 30-year-old. Because that they don't care. Most of them have kids.
It's for you, huh?
But that was a lesson for me. And I like to think that now I am a little quicker to admit when I am wrong or be looking for situations where maybe I
good.
said something that I shouldn't have or did something that I shouldn't have and making that right.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, it's still that feeling of just, I said something that I shouldn't have, and now I have to own up to it. And I think that every instance in my life that I can think back of where like, you ever have those thoughts where you just think of something stupid you did 5 years ago, and they're just like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? Why did I say that
about
to that
3 a.m. in
person?
the morning when you're laying in bed.
What was I thinking? I wasn't thinking. And yeah, I think I still struggle with not only sometimes apologizing for when I've screwed up, but then also learning to let it go. You know, I've apologized to someone and they've forgiven me, and they're not even thinking. I guarantee you that every single situation that I can think of where I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I say that 8 years ago to that random person that I only saw twice ever? You know, they're not thinking about that, but I have to learn how to let that go for myself.
It's that virtue of honesty, though, you know, in really being able to reflect on times where you're with somebody else and you know that it might have not come across right, and what do I need to do about that? It's taking that, like you said, Julia, that responsibility of saying, you know, I need to do something about that. Not how others saw me, but what am I going to do that can take care of that? You know,
Make amends.
making amends.
I love making amendments.
It's good.
You feel a lot better afterwards.
You do. That's what I was going to say. I
yeah.
love how I feel when I apologize, even to my kids
Yeah.
when I blew up or do something, you know, that, you know, I probably shouldn't do. I'm the adult, right? But when I go back later and I apologize, you know, I'm really sorry that I came across rude or that, you know, I got angry or I'm short-tempered. And then when I do that, I think I'm teaching them the skills to be able to say I'm sorry when they're the adult, right?
It's entering into common humanity, saying,
Yeah.
I make mistakes.
Right.
I remember doing that when my kids were little, and I'm going,
Yeah.
Mama gets mad too sometimes, you
Yeah,
know.
but
And
it feels good. It just feels
you
really
know,
good and
sorry.
healing to apologize, you know?
You know, another thing I was thinking when Isaac was saying that is, you know, he's 10 years old and he's apologizing to a 30-year-old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that 30-year-old was impressed. That made an
Oh,
impression
for
on
sure.
them, you know,
Yeah.
a positive, you know, that felt good. So, you know.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, when you go and you own up to your stuff and you make an amendment to somebody or you apologize, it's an opportunity to connect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
Amen.
what it's like one of the best ways you can connect because you're like getting on that level.
Right.
You're breaking
know?
down barriers.
Yeah, and you're healing that relationship. And so you're building relationships, right?
Yes. And we all need that, especially right now, especially during the holidays.
And this darkness, too, you know?
Yeah.
Dark
So-
and cold.
It makes you feel less alone because we're all going through it. We're all going through our stuff.
Yes. Yes.
So, and yeah, half the time if like I say something, I'm like, oh God, I shouldn't have said that. And you go and you have that conversation with that person. It just brings out that common humanity
Right.
in all of us.
Yeah.
So that was a good one.
Yeah, that was.
10, I don't bolster my own self-respect at the expense of others.
That's building a case for yourself. Kind of. Is that what that is? Bolster my... Because we don't want to
Make me
appear
look
dumb.
good.
Yeah.
You know,
And so...
at the expense of someone.
yeah.
What would be an example of that?
Oh, sometimes where you've made a mistake and then you make all the excuses and I did that because of this and you made me so mad that I did this, and so you're trying to save yourself, you know, from something that you know that really you had a disrespectful behavior, but you're saying this is why, instead of just being able to
Excuses.
own up and go, I blew it, I'm sorry, you know, please forgive me.
Oh, Isaac's
I'm
coming
scooting
around.
back.
He's
I'm scooting
hopping
back
over.
really quick because I here's how I feel convicted about that. How about this one that I know that I fall into and that I think is really easy to fall into in any environment where you're working with a bunch of other people is, oh my gosh, Patty, can you believe how stupid Lynda sounded at that meeting? Like, what? Are you?
Hello?
As an example. That's a bad example. Because I only use Lynda as an example because she would never say anything that wasn't
never
the
would.
wisest and most empowering things in any of our meetings.
Yes.
But I feel like, and maybe I think that this is definitely something that is gender specific in that men and women do it very differently. Guys will tear each other down in front of everyone to build their own self-respect. And there is a positive part of that where you're all teasing each other and it builds camaraderie, but it's also very easy to go over that line and just rip people to get laughs from everyone else. And that, I think that's a trap that a lot of guys go into. And I would love if you would talk about it so that I'm not mansplaining to all the women at the table. But what I have found in my short time on Earth is that the way that women handle that is it's all done in secret, right? It's all behind closed doors to each other, and I have the beef about this person, and then I turn to that person and tell them the beef about the person I was just talking to, and it just goes around and around in a circle. So I think that one is, I think we can all learn a lot from that point. I'm glad that that's on there, because I definitely just think hearing that can think back to a ton of times in my life where I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Isaac. That was good.
That was a great example, because it's true. And then especially in the workplace, that's just sort of like, especially the type of workplace as well. It just kind of, there's certain cultures that develop, and so.
If you can't say something nice,
Don't say
nothing at all.
Number 11. I can earn additional respect or regard for new accomplishments. I like that they put that on here too.
that's like tooting your own horn.
Yes, I can toot my own horn, and I can accept.
Feel good about it.
And I can accept praise for
Yes.
my accomplishments. I don't have to, there's, I think, two ends of the spectrum with that. On one end, you just don't want any recognition. You fly under the radar. You don't want people to kind of acknowledge you or anything like that. And then I think the opposite is I don't feel any self-worth unless I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a confidence factor in there, and then one that's cocky and prideful, and then there's a false humility too.
Yeah. And
So
I used to be on the end where if I didn't get that praise because I was a perfectionist and I want to excel at everything, that I wasn't, my self-respect, like I just didn't feel worthy. So, but now I feel I don't need that as much, but it does feel good to be recognized for things.
Yes, it does.
Sure it does.
And
It
we're all in this
does.
together.
Yeah.
So
It's another common humanity thing. We all, want to feel that we're growing, that we're getting it, that we're in process. And it's okay, and we're going to fall and make mistakes, but we're going to rise strong.
I love how at our workplace, like we always celebrate each other's accomplishments,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And it reminds me, when that first happened when I was here, when I first started, I had a hard time receiving praise because I definitely did not feel worthy. I felt like I was not in the league of all these people I was around. But it reminds me of like a young kid. You know how kids are just pure, and their excitement and joy is just pure. And when a kid wins a spelling bee and they go, "Oh my God, Mommy, I won the spelling bee. I did that," right? So I kind of try to liken it to that, like, "Oh my goodness, I did that. I actually accomplished that." And someone said it was good. So it was good. Like, "Oh my God, I did a good job,"
Yep.
So that's kind of what I think about, we are worthy.
We are.
When we do something well, I think we should be able to accept the praise and say thank you, So,
yeah. No thanks, but just thanks.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this whole list just makes me think of self-kindness. Because would we treat a friend like the way that we talk to ourselves sometimes?
Yeah, no.
The talk that we give ourselves? Or are we going to do like you did? You did it.
Yeah.
You did it. That was
Yeah.
so awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it feels awesome to be able to celebrate with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need to
it brings
celebrate
you
each
up.
other.
Yeah,
Like when you
it
get to
does.
celebrate another person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because your success is my success. 12, last but not least, My self-respect helps me know when to stop chasing relationships that are not working. Oh. When people are treating me disrespectfully, and when the personal cost and compromise needed to maintain a relationship is too high.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Turning the corner here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what about that, you guys? Relationships that are not working. And it's, this is all under the thing of self-respect, but then there's a whole nother thing when somebody else is not treating us with respect.
It's kind of like what Patty said, when that person does something and your gut goes, "Oh, I didn't like that. That was just
disrespect.
That was disrespectful." And but
Yeah.
then you love yourself enough. You have enough self-respect for yourself to say, "Well, hey, wait a minute. Maybe I shouldn't allow this relationship to go any further." Listening to that gut is so important.
Or because you're you've come to love yourself. You've come to value yourself and honor yourself to be able to say, wait a minute,
To say, instead of just stuffing it.
Exactly.
Say, wow, that didn't feel good. I didn't feel like you were very respectful, or, just saying it.
Being able to say, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
If you can't say something nice,
Yeah.
Yeah.
explain, let's talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
About what I want and what I need.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to do about it.
Mm-hmm. And maybe, some of those things, it depends the relationship that you're in. When you're in a close relationship, sometimes you can talk over that if the ground are firm, because we do have to use more I messages. I felt this way when this happened. Mm-hmm. What I need is this. That's that I message sentence to always remember is, instead of slamming another person and telling them how terrible they are, being able to say, let me give you some information about myself. When that situation happened, this is how it made me feel. But this is what I need. When I heard you gossiping, Isaac, about me, I felt really sad, and I felt I didn't know that you felt that way about me. What I need to know, if you have some constructive criticism for me, come talk to me so that I can be in the loop too.
Well, Lynda, I analyzed my own actions, and I'm very sorry that I made you feel that way. It was completely my fault. I never should have said that about you. See, I'm learning. Number 9, baby. Number 9.
Thank you, Isaac, and I receive that.
Well, so those are the 12 essential, I almost said the 12 steps. That's so funny.
It's so funny.
The 12 essentials of self-respect. And then it kind of, the last little thing on here says, even though I'm happy with who I am, I accept myself as I am today, and I still want to learn and grow. So that was a great read.
Yes.
And I like to use that as like a reference, because, unless you paint the picture for me, I don't know how to define self-respect. That defines it perfectly. And I think, I don't know, it's just, I don't know why. It's nice to see it.
That's good. And sometimes we do need to have it in black and white, or a checklist, and go, oh, I'm learning about myself. I did the same. What we're going to continue with is talking about codependency, which is that disease to please. But knowing that we have worth is the first step in working any sort of relationship. It's not always about that I've hooked up with a really bad guy. You should be able to know that quickly as you learn about each other, that you don't spend your time jumping into physical relationship before finding out who a person is and what their needs, their wants, their goals, their vision, their, what do they stand for? Where do they come from?
And does it align with where I'm going, where I want to go?
We've got to get into your reading, Patty. Do we dare start with that? Do we dare end with that, or start with it the next time around? What
I
you
think we
think?
should start
think
with
Yeah, I
it.
think
Okay.
let's start
Yes.
with this.
Oh, well, you'll want to stay tuned.
Yes, thank you, Lynda. You will want to stay tuned because this upcoming Friday, part 2 of the Roundtable discussion with our Redemption hosts and Lynda, Chud, and Beattie Wallman will be available. Everyone was just having so much fun. We went ahead and extended it into a 2-part series. And I'm hoping that Lynda and Beattie will come back on every season of Redemption because I feel like our discussion was so productive. So again, this upcoming Friday from when this releases, part 2 with Lynda and Beattie. For both Staci and Juliah, though, I will take you through our normal outro. I'd like to thank Lynda and Beattie for coming on for this episode and the next one. If you or someone you know are a victim of sex trafficking, please call 1-866-733-7878 or text HELP to 233-733. For local services here at my house, you can call 373-HELP. That's 373-HELP. Remember, if you see something, say something. This is Redemption, loved and thriving. Until next time.